Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm very glad that today we have the chance to sit together once again and share some of the profound lessons of Stoic philosophy. Teachings that have endured for thousands of years, but still hold deep value for our modern lives. In this video, I want to explore with you something that seems very familiar, yet contains immense power. Silence. We are living in a world full of noise. Phone notifications ringing, endless conversations, news pouring in every hour. In the middle of all that noise, silence suddenly becomes a luxury. But for Stoic philosophy, silence is not the absence of sound. It is strength, a weapon to keep the soul steady amid life's storms. Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we may listen twice as much as we speak." That is not only a reminder, but a guiding principle for a calmer and clearer life. I want you to imagine. You step into a busy cafe, people chatting loudly, background music playing, phones buzzing constantly. In all that chaos, you choose to sit silently. Within just a few minutes of observation, you begin to notice things you never saw before. Behind the smile of the waiter is weariness. In the impatient look of a customer lies a whole day of tension. And in the laughter of an elderly couple rests a simple joy that words can hardly describe. That is the moment you realize. Silence is not a meaningless void, but the space where wisdom and empathy can enter. An old friend of mine, now over 60, once said, "When I was young, I thought speaking more would prove I was intelligent, but as I grew older, I found that true wisdom is knowing when to be silent." That saying has stayed with me every day, because often we win not through words, but through silence. In silence, we hear our own voice more clearly. In silence, we can step outside the whirlwind of other people's emotions. And in silence, we find the peace we have been searching for all along. If you find these reflections meaningful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. That helps me continue to bring you more Stoic lessons. And tell me, what about you? Do you often find strength in silence? Share your story in the comments. I would love to hear it. When we speak about the power of silence, many people immediately think of self-control, of not losing one's temper, of holding back from reacting. But silence is far more than restraint. Silence is an art of living. It is not passivity, nor surrender. It is a conscious choice, a refined habit that only years of living can teach us to appreciate. I once had an old friend, a well-known lawyer. He told me, "Through all my youth, I always wanted to have the last word in every debate. I thought that was how I proved I was right, how I showed strength. But when I retired, I realized the moment I no longer needed the last word was the moment I finally slept well again." It sounds simple, yet it carries a profound truth. Some battles are won with words, but others can only be won through silence. We now live in an age of instant response. A message arrives, we must answer immediately. Someone criticizes us, we rush to reply. A controversial opinion online, we jump straight into the argument. But ask yourself, after all those quick reactions, do we actually feel at peace? Or do we only end up more drained and restless? The Stoics never saw silence as avoidance. For them, silence was discernment, knowing when words are necessary, and when silence itself is the most powerful answer. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, "You always have the power to hold your tongue. No one can force you to give an opinion if you don't wish to." Just remembering this truth makes us freer than we think. Modern science confirms what the Stoics intuited thousands of years ago. A Finnish study showed that just 2 minutes of silence is enough to slow the heartbeat, lower blood pressure, and allow the brain to enter a restorative state. Silence even activates regions of the brain linked to creativity and problem solving, more effectively than music. In other words, when you sit quietly, you are not doing less. You are opening the mind to expand and become sharper. I once guided a small meditation group that included several people in their 60s. For many of them, sitting in silence for the first time, no talking, no distractions, was deeply uncomfortable. One woman said, "I could never stand stillness. It makes me feel empty, abandoned." But after just a few weeks of practice, they began to change. That same woman later said, "Silence doesn't scare me anymore. It feels like a friend now, a friend who reminds me to breathe slowly, to rest after so many years of exhaustion." Silence not only heals the individual, it also saves relationships. Think back. How many times has an argument escalated because of words spoken in anger? And how many times could silence have softened the moment instead? Seneca once said, "Anger is a brief madness." To remain silent in that moment is to save ourselves from falling into that madness. One of my students, now in his 70s, shared a story from his marriage. For decades, he and his wife quarreled constantly, each trying to prove the other wrong. Until one day, he chose silence. He simply listened. He later told me, "When I stopped arguing back, I finally heard the pain she had been carrying inside." From then on, their marriage slowly grew lighter. What fascinates me is that in a world urging us to speak, to express, to assert ourselves, silence itself becomes an act of resistance. Resistance against the pressure of the crowd. Resistance against the urge to prove our worth. Resistance against the endless noise that wears down the mind. Silence is not blind submission. It is a declaration to the world. I do not need to prove my value through constant words. So let me ask you, do you have the courage to live more slowly and to embrace silence more often? Not silence born of weakness, but silence for clarity. Silence to observe. Silence to understand. Silence to save your energy for what truly matters. If these reflections resonate with you, share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever experienced a moment when silence helped you through a difficult situation? I would truly love to hear your story. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider joining us, because in the next part, we will discover how silence is not only an art of living, but also a source of dignity and lasting peace in a noisy world. There is a strange paradox. People often think silence makes us smaller, but in truth, silence makes us larger. Because when we are silent, we are not dragged into the storms of others. We keep enough distance to see things more clearly. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If it is not true, do not say it. If it is not necessary, do not do it." His words are not only about actions, but also about speech. Every time we stay silent at the right moment, we practice discipline, one of the highest virtues the Stoics cherished. I once met a man in his 70s who had gone through many hardships, a failed career, children who had drifted away, declining health. He told me, "Back then, I fought against everything. I spoke, I argued, I shouted. But nothing changed. Only when I learned to be silent did I begin to heal. I realized, not every battle is fought with words. Sometimes, silence is the true medicine." Perhaps you too have had moments like this, when one careless word could have ruined everything, but a moment of silence saved it. Silence keeps us from wasting ourselves in meaningless disputes, protects our dignity in difficult situations, and above all, preserves the peace of the soul. In today's world, we are told to speak up, to express, to always make ourselves heard. But think about it. Sometimes, the greatest act of resistance is choosing silence. Resistance against the pressure of the crowd, resistance against the urge to prove ourselves, resistance against the endless noise that exhausts the mind. Silence is not running away. Silence is a conscious choice. It is the space where wisdom enters. So let me ask you, when was the last time you sat quietly with silence as your companion? Did it comfort you, or did it make you restless? And if today you gave yourself just 5 minutes of silence, how might your life begin to change? If these reflections resonate with you, I invite you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. I would truly love to hear your stories, because wisdom is not built by one voice, but by many voices learning together. And remember this, in a world that never stops talking, your silence is strength. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.